What's going on, guys? So we got the Mini 3 Pro here. We got the RC, which is really amazing actually. I got a screen protector on it from Drone Valley, so I advise putting one on to make sure you don't scratch it. But this video is going to essentially be about flying your Mini 3 Pro as a complete beginner and things to look out for and things to maybe be mindful of when you're actually flying for the first time. Things that maybe you don't know and that you should know. So I just had a really nice conversation with the guy who just came by. I don't know, it's been pretty amazing how people have been kind of magnetic in a way. I don't know about to me or just good vibes lately, but we talked a bunch. His name was Bert. He was from another suburb riding his bike and just talked life and how life isn't easy, and he's got a son with special needs and went through a divorce, and just talking on how things can be really challenging, and really you just gotta kind of kick ass through life and remain strong and remain positive. And we were talking meditation too, as far as how it helped him in life. And he was saying, what did he say? He said something really funny, like, he said, meditation, that shit works, you gotta try it. So yes, meditation, that shit works, but it does. But regardless, it's nice to not have to have my iPhone in theory when I'm flying my Mini 3 Pro. So that's kind of a nice little bonus. I could use my phone to talk on, or I can use my phone to take pictures or video of my Mini 3 or my drone activity. But regardless, the first thing we're gonna do is take the drone and we are going to unfold it, right? So we're gonna unfold the drone properly, whichever drone it is. For the Mini 3 Pro, we're gonna fold the back legs out. We're gonna wrap these guys down. And then the next step is going to be removing the gimbal cover. So we're gonna remove the gimbal cover, boom, set that aside. Now we wanna make sure we never power on the drone with the gimbal cover on, because that is not good for a delicate gimbal. It can really tweak it and mess it up. So that's step one, unfold your drone and take off your gimbal cover. Step two would be to check your battery level. Right now, I have a full battery in here. So boom, full battery, which is always a good thing, especially as a beginner. You do not want to go and launch your drone with a low battery, having to worry about that. So that's step two, check your battery. Step three would be check your surroundings. Right now, I'm not in an ideal place to launch for maybe someone new to flying drones. I got a tree above me and we got some people around us, but no one really right in the area. So make sure you have an open space if you're new to flying drones. That will definitely help out in giving you peace of mind, not hitting anything like a tree. And maybe step four would be checking your airspace. Make sure before you fly or aloft or air maps, some kind of app, third-party app, you want to make sure that you're in an airspace that's legal to fly and good to go. So we're going to have our drone, and I don't know if I can actually screen record with this, which is kind of a downside now that I'm thinking, because I normally screen record with my iPhone 13 Pro Max, but let's go ahead and see if I can. So I'm going to power on the Mini 3 Pro with the DJI drones. You press short and then long hold, and it will power on the drone. So short and then long, and then this will power it on. Boom, we got the startup chime. And then we power on the RC, same thing, short and long hold. Boom. And then I'm gonna see if I can get a screen recording for this. These drones are pretty easy to fly. So this is a GPS drone. Once we take off, before we take off, we're gonna make sure we have the proper amount of GPS satellites, so when we launch it, it's gonna just hover in place. So some kind of drone that's lesser value and more of a toy drone, which doesn't have, hold on one second. I'm gonna put this gimbal cover in the case because I don't want it to get scratched, because I am meticulous with my gear. So anyone who buys anything from me, like my Inspire 2 that I'm gonna be selling, guarantee it's perfect condition. So we're gonna go ahead and see. I think we can swipe down on this and screenshot screen recording. Okay, so I think this should do it. Okay, so right now we're screen recording, which is nice on this remote. So what we're gonna look at, let's go into this. We're gonna make sure we don't have any updates that are needed. So that's another crucial thing. You wanna make sure you're current with your firmware because it's just the better way to be safe and to be confident that you have the latest and the greatest in your drone and in your experience flying. So we're gonna go ahead into profile. We can check over here and we can go device management. Oh, we don't need to go there. What am I saying? Go to settings, check for firmware updates, but it's not gonna do it because I don't have cellular data on this guy right now. So I'm not connected to anything, but do this with the RC at least when you're at home with the Wi-Fi connection available to you. So let's get out of here. Again, make sure you're logged into your account with your DJI. Make sure you have the latest firmware on both the RC for this example and the Mini 3 Pro. And we're gonna go and check, and we're gonna go into Go Fly, and we're gonna make sure we're in normal mode. We're not in sport mode, because in sport mode, so you guys are aware, there is no obstacle avoidance. So no obstacle avoidance in sport mode. So that's also a good thing if you do want to land or you do want to get around something. But I would not advise using that as a quick shortcut. Just go into safety and turn off obstacle avoidance, because in sport mode you're going really fast and you don't have as much control. Personally, I like flying in C, in the cine mode with obstacle avoidance turned off, because going slower with no obstacle avoidance is definitely going to be the better way to go, as opposed to flying around in sport mode. So as you can see in the upper right hand corner, we have 27 satellites. So we have a good satellite connection. So that's a really good thing to be conscious of before you take off. You want to make sure you have adequate satellites. That's in white. And also to the left of that, where it says RC, you want to make sure you have a solid connection to your RC, because that's basically telling you that whatever information the RC is sending to the drone is going to be accurate. So a lot of the flyaways and stuff that happen, like what happened with my Cine, most likely was from a bad RC connection because of interference or whatever it may be. That's sending the drone wrong information, and things just go basically horrible. So don't do that. Be conscious of enough satellites for you newbies out there, and be conscious of having a really solid RC connection. After that, we can go into the top upper right hand corner and hit the 3 dots, and we can make sure safety is set to brake. Personally, bypass will actually just bypass and try to go around something if there's an obstacle, but personally I rather have it on brake and then decide whether or not I want to have it go around it or whatever. I just want it to stop if there's any kind of anything that it thinks is going to cause any kind of harm to the drone. Just down below we have our max altitude. I have mine set way high just because I don't want to mess around with it. But for those who are new to flying and don't have their 107 or aren't in a space, 400 feet is going to be your max limit legally. Max distance, I have no limit just because, but of course you want to be maintaining visual line of sight of your drone at all times. So you want to be able to see the drone at all times, although the Mini 3 Pro and these smaller sub 250 drones are not easy to see. But whatever, do what you feel best and fly safely. We want to make sure, another thing, that our home point is updated, because just for example, this morning, my home point updated a little bit away from my house by a tree. So it was about 50 feet away from me. So when I hit return to home, if I would have let it do its thing and just land, it would have landed into a tree. And just know when you're returning to home, you still have control of the drone. So you can still raise altitude if you want, and you can still basically fly the drone the same way. So just be aware of that. You're not at the drone's mercy when you're returning to home. You could cancel it, or you can manually fly it the way you want to. We're gonna make sure we have our compass calibrated, but if it's not saying you have an issue, then you don't have an issue. If you wanna have extra peace of mind, calibrate your compass, and you could also calibrate your IMU, but that's probably not so necessary with the Mini 3, maybe with the larger drones. So let me get this guy in the air because I feel like it's heating up a little bit. And we're gonna launch it. And right now I'm hand launching it, which is easy to do because it's such a small drone. And if I want to catch it, I'm going to put my hand out and push down on the left stick and simply grab it. But for those who aren't really familiar and are new to drones completely, put it on something, not necessarily something this small, put it on the ground, and you're going to push in the two sticks down towards each other. So the left stick is going to go lower right, and the right stick is going to go lower left. And then we can, right now, the props are spinning, and if we want to stop them, I can just press down and hold on the left stick. See? So towards each other and up. And when you go up, make sure you commit because you don't want it to like wobble and then just fall over. Just push straight up on the left stick. And let me get this guy out of here a little bit. Okay, we got a nice sky over here in Batavia, Illinois. And right now, I'm just going to talk about a few things. We got the satellites that are really strong. We got our battery level, which says 96%. If I touch it, it shows you 35 minutes and 33 seconds until it returns to home. Basically 40 minutes until it force lands. So you got to be mindful of all that. I would say fly your batteries to 20% and then come home. That's how I personally fly my drones, and it's better for your battery life too to not deplete them completely. So we can go into settings again, and let's just kind of touch on, we don't need to go really too much into this. We can go into control. Here I'm going to make sure I'm in the proper unit for me, which is imperial, so miles per hour. I want it in follow mode, not FPV mode for me. We can go ahead and calibrate the gimbal, but we don't need to. Stick mode is going to be mode 2. We can customize the buttons, which I didn't really do a lot, but this is where you can add whatever button control you want to the different buttons and wheels. And what else do we have? There's actually a flight tutorial if you want, but you gotta land before you do that. So we're gonna go in the camera. For photos, I'm gonna keep it at 4/3 for the aspect ratio. 16:9 would be more of a movie aspect ratio. And what else? Histogram I'm gonna want on. Peaking level I'm not gonna touch. The grid lines, as you see, I want on, so I can see if my horizon is level, like you can see here. And I could also compose a little bit better, knowing stuff's level, like this, boom, take a picture really quickly. You got people walking, it's a nice little day, we got American flag. But at the same time, grid lines are important to keep on. White balance, you can keep it on auto for now. This is where you're gonna format your SD card or your internal storage. What else? I don't wanna have cache when recording on, personally. And transmission you're not going to mess with. About is basically just going to give you your firmware, your RC firmware, and your FlySafe database. So again, check these before you fly with a Wi-Fi connection at your home, and that would be my scenario for going through the quick initial settings. If you see right above the shutter button, that little circle, the white circle to the right, middle, above that is going to be how you tap and then get to different shooting modes like photo, video, master shots. You can actually scroll this, so you can do panel, hyperlapse, which I've never even used on this drone yet. So quick shots I don't really use. I can take a quick shot of me right now if I wanted to. So say I want to go over here. Let me go towards me right now. Boom. So here I am. We can see that finger's pointing at me. I'm going to draw a little bounding box around. I don't know which quick shot mode it is. I'm just going to do 80 feet. If I tap above, you can see quick shot mode. Oh, I can actually change the resolution to do 4K. It's only going to do 30 frames per second. And then where else? Where do I? subject lost, and I'm going to hit start. But this isn't a quick shot tutorial. I'm just showing you really quickly where the different shooting modes are. So there it goes, it's cruising. I'm going to still be conscious of watching the drone. So don't think quick shot modes is doing nothing. And it actually detected, I think it detected, well, maybe it didn't. It stopped right before the windmill. So that's that. And that will return right home to you. But again, this is really more about paying attention to safety things. When you're flying a drone for the first time like this Mini 3, you can see, I'm gonna fly it back to me. I'm gonna put it in sport mode really quickly, just so it doesn't have obstacle avoidance turned on. And I'm gonna cruise back safely because I know what the sticks are doing. And as you see, boom. Okay, right now the drone is just hovering off the sticks and it's fine. So you don't have to really freak out because this drone is locking in the GPS satellites and hovering in place. That's why you need to make sure you have adequate satellites connected and your RC strength proper so you don't have any issue with this as a beginner, because if you start going in an attitude mode where you lose GPS satellites, it's going to be a lot more complex and you probably will crash. So what else is there? Let me get the drone out of the air a little bit. Okay. And we're going to go back and get out of quick shot mode. So let's just go into photo mode for now. And this map is going to basically, whoop, we can touch it. Come on, there we go. And I don't know why it's showing that, but I'm going to hide it anyway. Come on. Hit that little minus in the top upper right hand corner of that white box. Oh, maybe it's not. Let me see. Maybe it's, oh, it's the bottom left. Boom, there we go. So I'm going to minimize that. And then over to the right of that, that little map icon in the lower left, we have our height. So right now I'm at 21 feet. And I'm going to go and cruise to, say, a couple hundred feet. And then right now it shows the distance. So that's the distance it is from me. So one thing you want to be really mindful of too is knowing where you are as far as taking off. So right now I know my location is basically right down here. So get a landmark or something. Say right now I have this bridge by me, because when you're flying home and something happens, for example, you want to know basically something that's by you. So like here, I'm going to back up and turn. So I know I have this building next to me also with the flag. So if I'm far away, say I go cruise, let me go cruise somewhere. Okay, I'm going to fly down. I'm in sport mode because I'm high enough that I know I'm not going to hit anything. But now say I'm over here or somewhere and I'm like, God, where I'm on low battery or I'm critically low, like what do I do? So I can scan around and go, oh, there's that building or there's that bridge. The bridge was by the river. There's a body of water, and I could start going back, and I'm going to be conscious of also my distance decreasing. So see, it's going from 530 to 517 to 489. If that starts going higher, I know that I'm going in the wrong direction. So if I'm over there and I'm like, oh, let me get home, and all of a sudden I see it going from 427 to 466, guess what? I'm heading in the opposite direction that I want to be. That basically is something you want to be conscious of and mindful of when you're doing this, is knowing where you are taking off from, because it will really help, especially if you're at any level of flying, of course, but if you're low battery, you're critically low battery, you're pushing a flight for whatever reason, you want to know how to get home fast and quickly, and ideally you cruise home in sport mode, so you just hightail back home essentially, and there we go. Where am I? So I'm in that little chair right down there, and also if you see with the grids enabled and that crosshair in the middle, I can go ahead and point that thing right at me, and I see where I'm at. So there I am, crosshair, I'm going to move the gimbal down, I'm right there. Now also, if I want to make sure you're landing in the right zone, point your gimbal straight down 90 degrees. So right now if I'm pointing straight, it's like, oh, there I am, I'm going to go ahead and land. Guess what? You're not going to land on the chair where I'm sitting, you're going to land on this roof. So right now I'm pointing the gimbal straight 90 degrees down, and I could see exactly with that crosshair where I'm going to be landing. So watch. Say right by that wall essentially. Boom. I'm coming down. I'm going to physically watch the drone. still a little nervous with the trees here, but it's landing not on the roof. And now I can kind of point and fly it safely to me, slowly to me. And I'm out of sport mode again. Oop. Come here, little drone. And landing is always a critical part because a lot of people do crash when they land. So I'm pushing down on the left stick with my hand out, and I'm gonna grab it, and it's gonna shut off the props automatically. So, oop. I'll keep it on for a second just in case. So is there anything else I need to touch on? Storage, you want to make sure ideally you have a clean formatted card and format the card in the drone for the first time so there's a clear communication between a new memory card and your drone. You're going to probably want to keep, I would keep my format on JPEG plus RAW so you could depress that. Be conscious if you're in auto mode as a beginner, I'd shoot in auto mode. Don't even mess with manual mode because it's one less thing to concern yourself with. But know that this EV is exposure compensation. So if you tap that and you want it darker, just go negative. So think simply negative, darker, positive, brighter. If it looks too dark, lighten it up with a positive number and just visually look. And the right here, this little histogram can be moved around if I tap and drag. And if that graph looks like that, guess what? You're in a pretty good exposure. Right now, everything's hugging to the left, which is on the darker side. We can go over that more detailed one day. If you want, let me know in the comments below if you want a little tutorial just on the histogram readout. But if you go -3 or 3/10, it's gonna push over a little bit more in the center. So that's more of a proper exposure. What else is there? I would keep it on autofocus for now. You can turn the camera to, which is super cool, by this press of the button, this little custom 2 button. And that's really about it. I just wanted to talk about something today, just kind of an organic video on the Mini 3 Pro, which is a phenomenal drone. This drone really, really is amazing. I mean, the Mini 2 I thought was a killer drone, and it is, but this just adds that much more, and it's quiet, does the vertical video. It's just super fun to fly. Everyone loves it. It looks like a frog. Just really good vibe drone. So that's it. Happy flying. Subscribe if you haven't. Good vibes only. Let's keep this drone community growing in a nice, positive way. Share your knowledge with people. Don't always be reluctant to talk. People really are appreciative more than you may know. And it does help spread the good word about drones and knowing that people aren't just spying on them. They're using it for creative purposes. They're using it for their work. They're using it for passion, or maybe for drone therapy, as I said, for dealing with anxiety or depression like I have. So there's a lot of purposes that these things come into play that aren't intrusive or doing anything bad. So with that being said, guys, aloha, subscribe, peace, bye.